from draftblitz.com. My man Alex Khvatov is joining us right now. Y'all give it up for Alex.
Yeah, I'm doing well, Mike. I'm doing well. How are you?
All right, I'm good. Now, the first thing I got to ask you, man, is I'm a big time geek around this time. I love to see the new crop, the new young talent coming to the NFL. But guys like you are doing this at all times. What actually goes into like putting together mock drafts and things of that nature, like the time commitment you guys must have to put in? What goes into putting these things together each and every year?
We just, we do a lot of research. I think, we watch a lot of tape, watch a lot of film, and that's basically what goes into it. We try to look at the team needs, what the players are looking for, and what the teams are looking for. And I think, that's what goes into it. This is a year-round thing. We do this 365 days out of the year, and I've been doing this for a while, Mike.
Absolutely. And you guys check out his website, NFLDraftBlitz.com. He's also on Twitter at NFLDraftBlitz for all you guys who are social media inclined. Every year, the draft has its deep position. What is the deepest position in the 2016 NFL draft?
Mike, it's definitely a defensive tackle. Defensive tackle is loaded this year. We've got guys at the top like Robert Kimbichi. We've got Andrew Billings from Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of guys there at the top. If you're looking for a defensive tackle in the first round or second or third day, this is the draft to get your guy. I just feel like there's so much depth there. A lot of underclassmen, a lot of seniors. We've seen guys emerge like Sheldon Rankins from Louisville. I just believe that, this is a defensive tackle heavy draft. And also defensive back. I think there's some good corners there in the first round. And this is a really deep draft when it comes to safeties.
To safeties? Okay. Now I'm looking at your latest mock draft here, and 1 through 10 you have, starting with number 1, you have Laramie Tunsil from Ole Miss, Jared Goff, the quarterback from Cal, Ronnie Stanley, Notre Dame, Miles Jack, all the way at number 4 from UCLA, Jalen Ramsey from Florida State, Vernon Hargraves from Florida, Carson Wentz, I gotta definitely ask you about him, from North Dakota State, Darren Lee of Ohio State, Joey Bosa all the way down to number 9. And DeForest Buckner at 10. Now, the question I want to ask you is that the fact that you have Laramie Tunsil at number 1 and not Joey Bosa, what was the thought process in going O-line versus someone who can get after the quarterback at number 1?
Well, I mean, they have to shore up the offensive line, in my opinion. I think they could put Taylor Luan at right tackle. I think that's where he belongs. I think that's where he can excel at. And they get Laramie Tunsil. This guy's a beast. He's got the size, the athletic ability, the quick speed. I think we're going to see at the scouting combine just the type of athlete that he is. And this guy has enormous potential. But remember, this guy missed half of the season for Ole Miss this year.
Right.
But when he came back, he dominated people. And I just feel like Marcus Mariota went down with an injury. You have to keep him healthy. That's for investment. That's the franchise quarterback. That's what the Tennessee Titans are hoping to up the billing that came out last year. You got to protect your investment. You put Laramie Tunsil at left tackle. You put Taylor Luan at right tackle. I think that's a really good start.
All right, now you talk about the depth at defensive tackle. Now, a lot of people, a lot of mock drafts that I've looked at have the team here where I'm at in Atlanta taking another defensive end this year, like Shalik Calhoun, the kid from Oregon. You actually have them going inside linebacker, and Reggie Ragland from Alabama at 17. Now, I thought more so along the lines of the interior with a guy like Andrew Billings, not necessarily another edge rusher like they did last year. But what was the thought process in going inside linebacker? Because your mock draft is the first place that I've seen inside linebacker going 17 to the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, I think the Falcons could go a number of ways. Last year, they obviously went with defensive ends. He didn't have the best year. They obviously can't address the tackle position. It's going to be really deep. I just think at that point, I just have the type of players. Kendall Jones, this big, definitely going to set the world on fire. I mean, he could probably break the bench press record at this year's scouting combine. He has good days, but I just think Billings is more of a late first, early second round pick. He faced some injuries. And I think that, linebacker is something I think we need to address. Is Reggie Ragland the best guy there? I believe he gets finally the linebacker. Ragland's good. He's all that guy. That's useful.
Okay.
Really good season. So I give the Falcons linebacker because he needs somebody that will control the season. I think.
Hey, Alex, can I disconnect you real quick and have you call me right back? We're having a problem with the connection, real quick. So if you can just disconnect real quick and give me a call right back, I'd definitely appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's Alex Khvatov of NFLDraftBlitz.com. He's also at NFL Draft Blitz on Twitter. Has some technical problems there, and I want you guys to make sure. I want to make sure you guys can hear what he's saying to you, because it's some very some good stuff as far as the people here in the city of Atlanta. You guys want to know, how the team is going to get better next year. I think Matt Ryan at his best, Julio Jones at his best in the second year of Shanahan's system. I think the offense is cool. You got to make a decision here on Roddy White and the kid out of ECU, Hardy, and see exactly where you're going to go as far as that side of the offensive formation goes. But I think as things stand right now, you've got your quarterback. You've got Devontae Freeman backing him up, the kid from Indiana. You got obviously Julio Jones. I think that part of that side of the ball is where you need to be right now. Defensively is where things are going to happen now. Now Alex has the Falcons taking a guy who we've seen because we live in the South, Reggie Ragland out of Alabama, the inside linebacker, going to the Falcons. And usually, like those guys, you've seen what's the kid's name that plays in Baltimore? Gee whiz. I can't even think of his name right now, but you guys know who I'm talking about. The linebacker in Baltimore. He showed up on the scene and played like a 10-year vet almost immediately. So it's one thing you're going to get as far as the linebacker play out of Alabama. Is maybe not that high of a ceiling, but definitely not that low of a floor. And what I mean when I say that is a guy that is pretty much going to be what you see him as right now. Now he may not be great, and he may not be terrible, but a guy that can contribute in Reggie Ragland. Now we got Alex Khvatov. We got him back. Hopefully now let's see if we got a better connection. Now I appreciate you doing that for me, Alex. We're just kind of going through some of the things that you were just saying as far as Reggie Ragland goes. Now, I guess the next thing I want to know is, like every year, there's some guys who show up at the scouting combine. The kid from Connecticut last year comes to mind, and it's somebody who's not a household name. Who are some of these players this year that we're going to see coming up starting next Wednesday in Indianapolis that many of us may not have seen play throughout the season?
You mean guys that will light up the scouting combine who weren't out expected to do so?
No, just guys that we may not even know them as household names right now.
I can give you a couple of guys. I can give you a couple of wide receivers that I think will run a very fast course on. I would say Stephon Diggs from Clemson is probably going to have a great combine. We've had Clemson wide receivers come to the NFL, and they've looked at obviously he's been able to light the world on fire. Jerome Peak is not a guy that many people know about, but he had a pretty good senior season with the Senior Bowl. I think this guy's going to run a very fast 40 time. I also think Ricardo Lewis from Auburn. This guy, another guy that I think 6'2", 215, going to run about a 4.3. He will test really well. I think we know some of his other mates, but Ricardo Lewis and Stephon Diggs, are some of the guys that I'll be looking at. They might not be a household name for an average fan, but I would expect them to have a really good combine.
Now, every year at the combine, we see these guys who show up and just kill us with the numbers, with the bench, with the 40. They kill us with the vertical leap, and sometimes they don't pan out. Sometimes you get a Dontari Poe who takes a little while but ends up being a Pro Bowl guy. Can you give me a couple of guys that you see on both sides that you can foresee being on both sides of that ledger? The guy who is going to come to the combine, blow it up, but you really don't see him as a viable NFL prospect, but another guy who will do the same thing, but you definitely see him as a possible star in the NFL.
You mean somebody? Please repeat the question, Mike. I didn't hear you.
One of the workout warriors, a guy that's going to come and just kill it at the combine, but on one side of the ledger, a guy who's not going to necessarily make it in the pros, and you already can see that right now through your film evaluation, and then another guy who will do the same thing, kill it at the combine, but you know from what you've seen on film that he has the potential of being a star.
I would say one guy comes to mind. I think that's the name that everybody knows about. Sean Oakman, the defensive tackle, defensive end from Baylor.
Oh, yeah.
This guy's going to lit up the scouting combine.
Yeah.
This guy's big. He's going to run a very fast 40 time. He's a great athlete, but he doesn't show up on tape. He's really inconsistent. He's had an up and down career. He's been dismissed from Penn State. I just thought that his talent level and his athletic ability does not match his size and his numbers. So it's definitely like a Marcus Hunt type of deal that we saw. He got drafted by the Bengals a couple of years ago in the second round. In terms of guys that I think that won't test well, I will give you a wide receiver. His name is Nelson Cruz from Colorado. This guy has good hands. He's a good route runner. It's not going to show up at the combine because he's not going to run a fast 40 time. But this guy has some Julian Edelman to him. So I think he's going to be a late-round pick, undrafted free agent. But I expect Nelson Cruz to do really well. He's going to make an NFL team and do quite well there, I think, in the NFL.
He's Alex Khvatov from NFLDraftBlitz.com. I do absolutely suggest that you check the website out if you're interested in seeing how your team can possibly get better in the NFL draft this year. Also follow him on Twitter at NFLDraftBlitz. Tell me about some of the Russell Wilson, Antonio Brown, Alfred Morris type of guys, the guys that'll get picked later but turn out to be very, very good pros in this year's draft.
Are we talking about day 3 guys? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, somebody like 5th, 6th, 7th round guys that are going to show up, or even a guy like a Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson may have been, well, you can say it, I mean, I can't really say that now, may have been overdrafted, but the fact that he went in the 3rd round may have been a little bit early for him. But a guy who we may be talking about in that term in a few years, like, wow, they got a steal in the 4th round or the 5th round.
I'll give you 2 wide receivers that I saw at the Senior Bowl that impressed me quite a bit. And I thought these guys had good careers as well. One guy is from Georgia, the wide receiver, Malcolm Mitchell. I think this guy is a crisp route runner. He has great hands. He can separate. He can high point the ball. Didn't have the type of career at Georgia that I think many people expected.
Well, he had the injuries, right?
He had injuries, right. But he came together as a senior. And I just think Malcolm Mitchell will definitely outplay his draft position. He's a day 3 pick. He's been invited to the combine. This guy's really underrated. And another wide receiver, Paul McCrover. He's from Southeast Missouri State. This guy's a former basketball player. He can jump out of the gym. I think he's going to do pretty well at the combine. He's a terrific leaper. He's really good in the red zone, has good hands, short area quickness. And when I check out his tape, there's a lot of unlimited potential there. This guy hasn't been invited to the combine, but I would say Paul McCrover is a late-round pick to definitely outplay and become a really good player at the next level.
Who are some of the guys who have the most to prove, whether it be like a Malcolm Mitchell who's experienced injury, some guys who may play faster than they really are and kind of need a 40 time, or guys who may have some character situations, some character issues. Who are some of those guys that we're going to hear about in this year's combine?
I'm looking at three guys that I think have to answer some character issues at the combine. Robert Kindici, the defensive lineman from Ole Miss. This guy has all the talent in the world, but production didn't match that talent level. He's got off-the-field issues. Remember, this guy fell out of the hotel room.
Right.
He has an incident at his school. There's a case pending against him. This guy's got some off-the-field baggage. Sean Oakland, a guy that we mentioned before. This guy's got, some off-the-field baggage. He's been dismissed from Penn State. He's had some trouble there. The production hasn't always matched. He's run hot and cold. I think Sean Oakland is another player. And Noah Spence. This guy's played at the combine. Not at the combine, at the Senior Bowl. He really lit it up. This guy had a great year at Eastern Kentucky. Was dismissed from Ohio State. Obviously, he met with the coaches and NFL teams at the Senior Bowl, but I think he will have to answer questions whether he does have the off-the-field issues, whether he has the drug problems that he had at Ohio State, and whether that's going to continue at the NFL level. So, Noah Spence is a top 10 talent, but he's a Justin Houston-esque type of player. I think top 10 talent could fall out of the first round season.
Now,
that's the answer to the way NFL teams are listening.
I heard he may be even the best pure pass rusher in the draft. Do you share that opinion?
I think he's really explosive. We watched him at Ohio State early on. He was a better prospect than Billy Bosa at that point.
Wow.
I thought he was the most talented guy on Ohio State roster. Straight that out. He got dismissed. He went to Eastern Kentucky. I think a lot of people forgot about him. But this guy had like 20 tackles for loss. He had over 10 sacks. I mean, this guy was unstoppable at Eastern Kentucky this year. Came out, was unstoppable at the Senior Bowl as well. He's definitely explosive with the lightning quick first step, heavy hands. This guy's disruptive. He can get to the quarterback. I don't think, defensive coordinators drool over guys like this because you can put him all over the field. He's definitely a stand-up outside linebacker. I think he's going to show fluid hips, great speed. He changes directions really quickly. So he is a 3-4 outside linebacker. This guy's got all the talent in the world. He just has to answer it inside those defenses at the combine.
He's Alex Khvatov from NFLDraftBlitz.com. Also, he's on Twitter at NFL Draft Blitz. I want to ask you about some other guys that may have to switch positions and guys who are going to be working out at different positions. We see it every year. Guys who may have been the kid from Auburn, who's now a defensive back. The kid that played quarterback, who's now a defensive back for the Jaguars. Who are some other guys that are going to have to make their living if they are to make a living in the NFL at a different position than they played at the college ranks?
I'm looking at one guy. He was a running back at Texas A&M. His name is Brandon Williams. He actually switched to corner during his senior season, played there a little bit. He has been invited to the combine. He's going to run a fast 40 time. I think people want to see how fluid he is in those defensive backfields. Another guy is Braxton Miller. I mean, say what you want. This guy made the switch as a senior as a wide receiver, but he's still unrefined.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy's going to blow up the scouting combine. He's going to run a 4.3. He's going to test really well. He is an athlete. Braxton Miller really surprised me at the Senior Bowl when I saw him because he ran better routes. He got everything that was thrown his way, and he was the star during that week. The tape during his senior season showed someone that has unlimited potential that was very, very raw. And so I think Braxton Miller is going to be another interesting case. I mean, it's going to be an upward trend for him. I think we're going to hear a lot of Braxton Miller in the first round. I see him in the second round. I think that's where eventually he's going to go. But if he blows up the scouting combine, he's not going to get outside of. He's not going to get out of the top 40. He's going to get drafted somewhere in the early second round.
Wow, I heard Todd McShay at the beginning of the season talking about him elevating himself to the third round. Now we're up to talking about the first round with Braxton Miller. I got a couple more things with you. Let's stay on this Ohio State theme. They've got a bunch of guys that are going to be in Indianapolis on Wednesday. Who of the many Ohio State guys, underclassmen that have declared for the draft, who's making the mistake? Who should have stayed?
I think that's an interesting case. I think the safeties that entered, I think they should have. I wish that Michael Thomas would have gone back because they do have J.T. Barrett coming back as quarterback. He is going to be the starter next year. Michael Thomas is somebody that's really unrefined. Right now, people are talking about him as a first-round pick, and he is going to go in the first round. Like, this isn't a guy that's going to come in from day one and contribute right away. I think that's the problem. I wish the team would have stayed for an extra year. We would have been talking about the top 10 pick. Mike Thomas get there in the 2006 draft, he could, but I think more of a top 15, top 20. I just he would have gone back and really worked on his game, his route, his hands. There's so much I believe he needs to put work on. Right now, it's just we're talking about potential. But he's not up there with like Treadwell, in my opinion. Treadwell might not run a fast 40 time, but he's a better receiver than Michael Thomas.
Right.
So, clearly, to me, if Michael Thomas would have gone back, he would have been the number one wide receiver next. But I was a bit disappointed. Again, it will be a first-round pick. So make it a smart decision. You could get injured in college. If you're a first-round pick and get all that money, you should enter the draft. But in terms of him contributing early, I think this is going to be one of the wide receivers that will be sitting on the bench.
And wrapping up here with Alex Khvatov of NFLDraftBlitz.com. Make sure you guys follow him, as I do, at NFL Draft Blitz. The last thing I got for you, I want to know about Carson Wentz. I want to know, how did we get here with a kid from North Dakota State? I know he's tabbed as a winner, but is his circumstance related to the lack of big-time quarterbacks in this draft, or is he himself just that big-time, in your opinion?
Look, he is a very good quarterback. Here's the thing about him. He is a 6'5 quarterback. He's 6'5", 230. He's got great athleticism. For a guy that big, he's got Ben Roethlisberger type of running ability. He can really move. He can throw on the run. He's got huge hands. He checks off all the physical attributes that are out there in terms of the strong arm, the quick release. He did run. His offense was a bit pro style, so he's got experience in taking snaps from under center. So there was a lot of buzz about Carson Wentz coming into the Super Bowl. I thought he did well, but disappointed me in a way that I didn't see a top 5, top 10 pick.
Yeah, it seemed like the game was a little bit too fast for him.
I've seen guys like Fisher, Eric Fisher separate himself during that week. I saw Aaron Donald dominate the competition. I didn't see that from Carson Wentz. He needs to read the field better. He needs to go through those progressions. I think his ball placement is something that he needs to work on, and that could lead to some accuracy issues. Is the top 10, top 15 pick? Yes, he is. But I wouldn't necessarily slot him to the Browns number 2 because that's not a given. I'm still a big Jared Goff fan. That's who I would take if I were the Browns at number 2. But I think Wentz deserves to be in the conversation. He's a great kid. He's a 4.0 student. He's won 2 national championships at North Dakota State. He is a winner. He came back from that injury and started during the national championship game that they had. And he won that game. It wasn't the prettiest game in the world, but the guy led his team to victory. Teams love that. They gravitate towards winners and good kids. And I think it's a projection. It's more about upside. See Carson Wentz, and they see a lot of talent that they can coach up. And NFL teams, NFL coaches, offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches. So the conversation's definitely there. I think there are a lot of teams that are in love with him, and that's going to stay. And there are a lot of quarterback teams in the top 10. If it's not the Browns, then it's the Cowboys, the 49ers. There will be some other teams that could jump into the conversation, like the Los Angeles Rams. They could trade up from number 15 to go and grab them. So it's about a projection. We saw Joe Flacco go in the first round, but he didn't go in the top 10.
Right.
I think Wentz is definitely, like I said, there will be a few teams out there. I heard that at the Senior Bowl that are absolutely, the sky is the limit for this guy. I'm not sure that he always checks off in the accuracy department and the ball placement department. And that would be a major issue for me. I'm more of a Goff fan than Wentz, but I'm keeping an eye on him and seeing if, how he would do at the combine and at the pro day. But based on the tape that I've seen, it's more of a projection. And will this guy get there? I'm not sure.
He's Alex Khvatov, excuse me. I appreciate you joining me, my man. And hopefully, you know what? Hopefully I can have you back on, if you're willing, after the combine, so we can kind of do another assessment of some of the performances, some of the guys who may have not competed, and things of that nature when the combine is over, my man.
Yeah, let's do it, Mike. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.